All right. Uh, Coach Franklin from Aguirre's Fighting System. I'm here with Sam and Sean, and it's gonna be fun today. It's gonna be a good conversation. Um, Sam, what can you say about us, about this gym, this academy?
So
Why do you guys come here? How do you guys get here?
so I trained in Orange County before I moved out here. And then when I moved out here and started dating Sean, I was looking for something close to what I had in Orange County, like a good atmosphere, somewhere where it's not, because as a female training jujitsu, I'm always in the minority.
Oh
There's
yeah.
one of me, or maybe two at sometimes. And so I wanted some place where I wasn't going to feel like overwhelmed training and practicing. And we went to a couple places, and every time we pulled up in front of the whatever gym it was, he would be, "No, we're not training
Yeah.
here." And we would turn the car around and go home.
He would go to the most ghetto places.
Really?
I was just
And
like looking.
I'd remember like, oh, I remember something happened at this corner or this corner of
Okay.
the places that we were going to. And I just didn't want to be, I wanted somewhere that was like a little more quiet and secluded.
And what happened when you guys came here the first time? How was it?
I had a great time the first time.
Yeah, no, it was an eye opener for me.
Okay.
I thought I was gonna have a great time, and then I got my butt kicked.
He wasn't as happy at
Yeah.
first.
I think we all ran into that the first time that we go to
Oh,
the
yeah.
gym. Because when I was in Costa Rica, I used to do kickboxing and Muay Thai. And I'm really decent with that. And a friend of mine, really fat, he say, "I want to teach you how to fight." I say, "Dude, I would smoke you." He say, "No, really, I want to teach you." I didn't know he was a third-degree black belt in judo,
Oh, that'll do it.
third-degree black belt in jiu-jitsu. He was doing catch wrestling, and he plays like six or something like that in the state in wrestling. And he was training with Jim LaBelle, and he just beat me up so bad.
Yep.
Like seriously, I was like, and I say, I need to learn this
Yeah.
because you have two choices right there. You can say, "Oh hell no," or embrace it,
Yep.
And how was for you, Sean? How bad was it?
It sucked. I remember I haven't seen him in a while, but I was rolling with Adam. The main ones were Adam and then Andrew, Andrew, and then Frank or Francisco.
Yeah.
Those were the main ones that I was going with. And I
my
remember
goodness.
Adam would always cut my neck
Yeah.
and do that same thing over and over and over again. And at the end of it, he was like, "I just like that you don't give up, that you're at least still
That's
trying."
great. That's great. And he rolled with the toughest guys
Yeah.
probably, like because Adam is a phenomenal wrestler, amateur fighter, and Francisco, he is a little tractor.
Yeah.
Seriously, and Andrew is really
Andrew.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for you, Sam, how was it? Like, you just have fun? You were already a
I was already a blue belt.
blue belt, okay?
So it was cool because actually the gym that I came from in Orange County had a lot of like smaller people. So there's a lot of people that I could roll with that were close to my size. And when I came here, everyone's built like a Samoan. Like I wasn't prepared. But it was really nice because everyone was very like friendly and welcoming. You got your butt handed to you a couple times, but you could still roll and you still learned so much. And everyone was so humble and welcoming that it was a really great atmosphere.
Yeah, I actually know your coach, Balquat.
Yeah.
Balquat. Yeah, I know him for probably 20 years.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I used to go. I went a few times to Colin Oyama's gym, and he used to be with him. He was a fighter.
Yeah.
And I remember him when he was very young, like 16, 17 years old.
Jeez.
Yes. And but yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good kid. And now, Sean, for you, what about, is this stuff good for what you do for a living?
Yeah, being a police officer, I think it's really good. Not only like knowing what to do or like when to do it. I don't think that's really like the main part because a lot of this stuff you're really not going to use there. I think more so it's having the confidence of knowing that like you've been in a sucky spot before and you can like kind of hang in there or you at least have a little bit of an idea. I think that confidence actually helps you stay out of those situations because you're not as worried about getting in that situation, I would think.
I talked to the guys from Fontana. You roll with all these guys, and that they always mention that word confidence. It's such a key thing because, all these guys are really good guys. Sean is the sweetest guy ever, you know. And honestly, when people talk about the police, for me, it really hurt me because I know you guys, and I know that, you know, one bad apple is the one that gave the reputation to the whole department. And when I talk to people, I tell them, I can't believe you support the police. You know, I just love these guys because I know, like Captain Burton, I know this guy for 25 years. Then knowing this, you guys at the personal level is different
Yeah.
than seeing you guys with uniforms. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And um, it's interesting because I want everybody to know you guys like we do. You know, like you walk in the gym and you know you roll with guys, then you probably deal with them in court. Seriously, it's the only place that you can feel like you don't care who's. You just want to have a good time
Yeah.
and detox
Yeah.
all the stuff that you have during the day, and it's interesting. And for you, can we say what do you do?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think your job is really stressful too. I
It is.
remember probably 6 months ago, 8 months ago, you were going through something really um, tough, a case really tough. And
Yeah.
you used to walk in here like beat up before you even, you know. And
Yeah.
how is that like for you after you have a tough day at work and you just come here?
It's nice because it allows me to leave work at work, and then you get on the mat and you leave it all on the mat. So when you go home, you're ready to face whatever the next challenge is. Or if you go back to work the next day and you're in a really rough trial, or something didn't go your way the day before, you get it out before you come back, and then you can come back with like that renewed sense of positivity and like focus to get whatever you need to get done the next day.
Now, did that really help you focus when you out of work? Like
Yes.
I tell people that like I am so when I go and ref, I ref a lot and stuff like that. And when I get in the cage, I pray before I say, okay, God, I don't want people to see me. I want people to see you. I don't want to misrepresent you right here. And knowing what I know, it made me feel confident in what I do because sometimes the coaches they don't know me and they just come and try to argue with me like, oh, he was. I say, dude, trust me. I have been in the mud longer
Yeah.
than you, and then it's it helped me a lot. I don't get nervous when I'm doing that. I don't feel like what if. I deal with the what ifs when they come, you know, and that is the good thing. That I am always calm, and I try to apply what I learn in the mat in
Right.
everything that I do, and it's good because I have been teaching this for a few years, and every day we learn something, you know, and that is the beauty of this sport. Then
Yeah.
you can't walk in that mat thinking that you know everything because you will have a wake up call, you know.
Yeah.
Now you are now a purple belt.
Yes.
Your plan is to get to black belt. That is your focus. You want to really get up there.
That's
you
my
wanna,
goal,
Really,
eventually, yeah.
That's good because it's the more difficult belt to me is the white belt.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Once you once you put that belt in your stomach right there, you I think is so amazing because after that you get to blue belt, then you get to purple belt. Now you're two belts from being a black belt,
Mhm.
and that is so cool. You know,
Yeah.
you just have a goal. We gotta get there. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, that's the goal. It's harder now. Obviously, I've been around a little bit less, just work schedules and then the distance. We're a little further from the gym. But yeah, my goal is to become a black belt. It's going to take a lot of time, especially with the schedule I have now, but that's for sure the goal.
Yeah. You know, then it took me 10 years.
Yeah.
It took me 10 years to go, and I was doing it 6 days a week, 3.5 hours a day.
Yeah.
But I was doing judo, and I was doing sambo, and I was doing jiu-jitsu. And then when I got my black belt, I got it in all these three disciplines. But it was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so tough.
Well, and cool things is, yeah, like, I'm 30, but you see Coach Art, and does it forever, it seems like. So I know that the older I get, I can still do it at a different level, but you're still able to do a lot of different things.
Dude,
And,
you sound
and
like
that.
30 years being old.
I know, right?
Seriously.
It feels old.
No, no. Seriously, there is. I just signed up this morning a guy, and when he put his age, he was 68, and he looked good. Like this guy, and I asked him, I said, dude, what do you do? Like he say, this stuff. This I
Yeah.
have been involved in this.
Yeah.
He say, and they kept me,
Hmm.
and it's even good for that reason. Then you're healthy, like especially with all this COVID-19 and all the stuff. Then
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so aggressive sometimes with people. Now I know you guys are expecting.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
is that going to be? I know it's gonna be really tough for you guys to be here for a while, but how excited are you guys for to have that little
Oh,
baby
I'm
coming
super
Really
excited.
excited.
I wanted to tell everybody 5 seconds after I found
Yeah.
out. She
Really?
kept
Really,
telling me
really
to be
did.
quiet.
And I told him, no, we're gonna wait for a little bit.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
But no, he was ready to shout it out to anyone that
Yeah.
would listen.
Uh-huh. No, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool.
That's
I-
the goal, though, is try to be here is when the little dude's around. Once everything's fine with going outside, however that all works. But even if he's crying in the corner, that's what's gonna happen.
One of the cool things about that specific thing, I see so many ladies training, and now the kids are training right here.
Mhm.
6, 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
A few days ago, a kid came to the gym and really tough. This kid is a good wrestler, and he trained with me a couple of days, and then at the end of the week, he said, "Hey, coach, do you remember me?" And I say, "No." He showed me a picture. He was 5 years old, and I was coaching him. Now this kid is 24, 25 years old, and he said, "I just want to let you know that I placed second or third in the state, and I did." And he started telling me all the accolades that he have. He said, "I want to thank you because everything is because the way that you push me and the way that you this." Oh, I feel so because he was so like proud of everything that he learned here
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it's good to
Yeah.
see that because you see a 1-year-old kid, 2-year-old, and then 4-year-old, and they just sign up and then it's another grappler.
Yeah.
That is the and not just that. It's so good for discipline with the
Mhm.
kids. I have so many kids here. Then the parents come and they say, "You need to talk to so and so because he misbehaved in the school today." They are more afraid of us, maybe out of respect, because and it's good because if we can help in something like that is really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Sean, what do you think about like some of the street kids that you guys deal with all the time, learning this kind of stuff?
Oh, I think it goes. It's kind of twofold. You get both sides of it. It can be great and change their lives. We have examples here, I
Mhm.
think, right? Really good example, and then it can go the other way too. If uh, somebody's going to decide their own path, right? Some people they go down a path and they decide later, hey, I want to be a better person or better things, and the things they learn, it's going to help them, and it could help them get down that path. Some people you're just going to run into is they're just who they are and going to stay who they are. But that was what I think what makes it even important for officers to train. Fontana has it right. San Bernardino started to get the ball going. We had some hiccups along the way, but still there's a lot of guys that train there. And I think it's even more important because I've seen a little bit of knowledge that you can learn paying, if you had a month here and you pay 170 or 150, whatever it is, you can learn a lot in a month, almost be more confident than just the average Joe just after 1 month. And you could say a lot of cops don't realize that. There's not that much training unless you're seeking out the training. And we're already at a disadvantage. You're
Yep.
wearing boots, jeans, a belt, another belt, 3 shirts, a vest, wires. It's not the easiest things at time, and then we all get big bellies after a while, and it's not the easiest at times. You're already starting at a disadvantage of not being able to move as easy, and you get a lot of these guys that you can bend them in half, and that's what they're used to,
Yeah.
and it's a surprise.
I asked that because we help so many kids from the street here, and I have one of the students now. His father was a trouble kid about probably 12 years ago, And Captain Burton called me and he said, "Hey, I had this kid here. None of the schools want the kid around, and mom is about to give up on him. Can we do something about it?" I say, "Hey, just send him." Long story short, that kid is now, right, 12 years later, his kid is 7 years old and is doing jiu-jitsu. He say, if this thing changed me the way that it did,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's gonna be so good for my kid. Then, um, and most of the kids that came here and walk in these doors, they want to change their life.
Yep.
And in a way, you know, it's crazy because there are so many things that they just can't hide. You know, we have few of those here where you walk in here and you don't know them and you say, "Oh no, this is not the right place."
Yeah.
Because, but once you meet these kids and know them a little bit, and you know, then they are good kids. They
Yeah.
were like, you know, unfortunate for some of the kids is hard because that's not what they see at home.
Yeah.
You know, and I have a couple of kids here. Then they say, "Coach, I I see you more as a father figure than my own dad because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the good thing, you know. Then we can be in a way a role model for these kids.
And it's
you know?
about the culture. I think here, right? This is the only gym I've been at. We pop into a few here and there. Like when we travel, we like to go and try to at least train once when we travel, or right with Spriggs, we've gone to his gym a few times. But here's like, you know, the home base, and you can see the different cultures. When you come in here, it's more of like a family. You know, you ask people how they're doing, you joke with them and things like that. It's not too serious. And it's kind of cool when you get these kids that have a serious, super serious life on the street, whether it be going home and not having much to go home to, right? That's serious and you have to deal with it, or who they're hanging out with. Well, you come in here and it's you have a good time. You know, you don't know how to train, keep it serious without being serious, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's true. You know,
Yeah.
we joke about everything.
Yeah.
You know, this is a place where
true.
you can get mad because somebody make a joke about.
And there's nothing more defeating when you're trying your hardest and the other person's laughing and you just can't do anything. And it's a good way to humble somebody and to let them know, like, you know, not everything's as serious as it can be, or you can, you know, you could deal with things and not have to be stone cold or you know, the world's not always falling apart kind of thing.
Yeah. What about you, son? Well, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like when you walk in here, people is like friendly, or do you feel like, I don't know, I don't want to roll with that person because he's too mean. Every gym have that. And there's people that I always tell, like, you mentioned few of the guys. Then it's not that they are bad guys. Then they have one speed
Yeah.
Yes.
and they are just rough. Then I always talk to those guys, and I love my friend Francisco. He's he's my brother and everything. But Francisco is one of those guys that he just have one spirit, and he is just mean. This is a little mural, like seriously. This guy is a bull, and he's the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
But he just then I always talk to them before when somebody new walk in, and if it's possible, I try to keep that new person away from them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I always keep an eye on everything that is happening for the same reason because, you know, you mentioned Coach Hart, what a nice guy that is. He's
He's intense.
Yeah.
He's
you know,
intense.
and then is this guy is a second generation judo in United States. You know, he's from Jean LaBelle and Sonny Hughes and all these guys, but that's how they used to train. You know,
Yeah.
and now everything is different. I always tell people if I train now the way that I used to train 25 years ago, my gym will be empty
Yes.
because it used to
different.
be really hard. You know,
Yeah.
even the tournaments, this stuff about reaping and all that kind of stuff, that is new. I remember going to a nationals in Sambo in 1999, 98, 99. I was in Bakersfield. There were the ambulance going in and out with
Yeah.
broken legs. Seriously, because people was just going
Yeah.
for everything. And now it's safer and it's good. I think if, like for you in your case, would you recommend this to other females? Like,
Absolutely.
uh-huh.
I do every day. Every time I talk to someone and they ask, you know, like, what do you do for fun? I always say I do jujitsu. And the first reaction is, holy crap, that's intense. And then the second reaction is, do other girls do that? Or are you the only one? And I always offer for them to come here and try a couple
Mhm.
classes. And I always say, I'll roll with you. I know it can be really intimidating at first because it was for me.
Mhm.
The reason that I got into jujitsu was because of so I got into kickboxing to begin with.
Mhm.
And that was because I got out of a really rough relationship where I got beat a lot and it wasn't fun.
Okay.
And then I went from that to one of my friends at the kickboxing gym. It also had jujitsu. She started doing jujitsu and she kept telling me, it's really fun. You should come. You should come. And I was like, no, I'm not comfortable. Like there's a lot of really big guys. It looks really scary. I don't want to get hurt. Like I want to be okay. And her big thing to me was, okay, I'll roll with you. Right? Like come twice a week. She let me borrow her gi because I was like, I don't want to invest in a gi if I'm not going to do this.
Mhm.
So it was me and a gi that was a little too big for me. And I would show up and only roll with her. That would be the only person I would roll with. And then slowly I said, okay, I'll roll with, some of the smaller guys. And that's where I learned to be really afraid of white belts because they don't know their power.
Mhm. No, sure.
And so I learned to start rolling with blue belts, purple belts, brown belts because they have better control. They know what they're doing. And so even now I tell everyone, come try a class, even just one. I'll roll with you. I'll tell if I don't roll with you, I will tell you who to roll with. That won't hurt
Mhm.
you. And it's a comfortable space.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great because, but I think the biggest problem for girls is like being, you are so such a close contact with
Mm-hmm.
males,
Yeah.
and I think that is the biggest problem then some of the girls have
Yeah.
because um, they think we are thinking of you as a female, and
Yeah.
and I always tell the guys when you roll, don't
Mm-hmm.
you can't think that way. Just think it's one of the other dudes that you're rolling with,
Yeah.
because the
Exactly.
moment that you start thinking about now you don't wanna,
Mm-hmm.
then it's but you gotta think the same way, because it doesn't matter if I feel that way. You don't feel that way. It's
Yeah.
really uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and but it's a good thing because uh, I think women need this,
Absolutely.
especially now.
Hmm.
It's so much stuff going on out
Mm-hmm.
there. Seriously, I just can't imagine for the young generation than for the new generation. Like these kids are always fighting in school.
Mm-hmm.
We signed up a little girl, 14 years old, um, because she got in a fight the first day of school and she got a broken arm.
Oh, jeez.
2 or 3 girls jumping
Yeah.
and beat her up. And then mom say, I don't want this to happen again. Then um, you learn how to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing, I always tell people is then you don't need to prove nothing.
Right.
People ask me, Coach, do you ever get in a street fight? No, never.
Yeah.
And but I know what to do.
Yeah.
It that
Yeah.
happens, and that is the confidence that I have. Like I don't need to prove absolutely anything out there because I will be another street fighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now for you, Sean, like what apart from Sam telling you, let's go to the gym, let's go. Did you ever train before or?
No, I never did. It was always something I wanted to do, right? Because when you're right out of the academy, you think like everything's so centered on like I want to be the best cop that I can be, and trying to learn how to take everybody down or beat out every situation. But like we've talked about tons of times, I know Fontana, the guys have talked about, is everybody's so afraid of like getting hurt, and then before you know it, life gets kind of away from you, and like Sam was saying, it's hard to not have a friend or somebody to start with.
Yeah.
Or even know what to do, or when you show up on your first day and you get beat up by a 17-year-old kid, it's
125 pounds.
yeah, it is. It's
But look at how big he is.
yeah, yeah. So I always wanted to, I just never did. Part of it was I just never got around to it. I didn't have any major situations pop up. There were times in my job where I thought like, oh man, I wish I would have known something, but I was able to work out of it with the little bit of knowledge that I have. But I always wanted to. I just never started it until me and Sam started dating.
That's great. That's great. You see, you're helping
I'm
him.
gonna take full credit for that one.
Yeah. No, because for me it was different. I grew up doing martial arts my whole life, and I can't be without doing it. Like seriously, it's so hard for me Even when I got a surgery and I'm coming from the hospital, and I say, let's start by the gym to see how everything is. My
Yeah.
wife say, no, you
No.
know, because it is I'm addictive to this thing. It's crazy, but I just that's all what I have got on this thing in my head. I don't have nothing else. I just want to let people know about both.
Yeah. When we first started, we'd come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and that was how we did it for every day for like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucked when we missed a day. Now it's harder. It does suck only coming one day a week. I wish I could come more, force myself to get up in the morning. I'm not a morning person at all, or just the times. But with work, stuff kind of goes off. But Sam's able to get here. But our goal is to get back to 4 days a week if we can.
But one of the things is, Sean, for as an officer, you 1 day a week is good.
Yeah.
Amen.
There is a lot of guys that they can train here for free,
Mhm.
and only 20% of them can. They don't even need to worry about paying anything
Yep.
and stuff like that. And it's bad because I hear so many things happen in the street with the cops. I hear so many things about a cop got hurt, somebody beat up the cop, or they put a video where a cop is getting beat up. That really bothered me
Yeah.
because if you had the tools to do it and you just yeah.
Well, and it's not even so much the fighting and stuff like that. It's everything. You strengthen all the little bones. I've rolled my ankle less. I hurt my arms less. Like everything gets hurt less just because you're so used to using it in weird ways. Now, when you're running, chasing after somebody, you're getting in and out of a car, all those movements people take, they think, you're just fighting and that's it. Well, you're actually working out all the weird body parts that you didn't know you had. And it actually, I think it helps reduce injury in general. People always say yoga. Well, it feels like a type of yoga with how much you're
Silent yoga.
you're getting stretched out and everything. It
You don't
actually
do it by
works.
yourself.
Yeah. But it works out a lot of other things. People don't realize that is it's all the little things. When you fall, you're not worried about getting hurt when you fall.
Mhm.
You're not worried about twisting your ankle as much because maybe you twisted it 30 times the last week, and the bones or the cartilage or whatever has strengthened around it, and you just everything kind of it's stronger.
3 months ago we got approved. I create my own curriculum to teach the law enforcement, and we got approved. We got now in a couple of months we're gonna do the first one.
That's cool.
We're gonna do a free one. Like the Graces are gonna hate us because they charge.
They've got
us,
enough money.
Yeah. But it's we want everybody to learn this thing, and if you're invited to do it, you
Yeah,
just
of
bring
course.
2 or 3 of the guys, or as many
Yeah.
as you want from San Bernardino, and you get certified the same way. Then you get certified with other companies, and it's better. It's
Better, closer, right?
Yeah, it's better because we have been working in some of the good techniques, and you guys can use, and just let everybody know in the department that
Yeah.
they are welcome to come here. And for me, it's good to see how good some of the cops are getting. We just had Liam right there, and he used to just get beat up all the time here. This guy is so good, and don't you talk about 30 years old like, oh, I'm so old. And, he is a good example. Liam is one of those guys. Then he came 3 or 4 days a week, and I never thought he was gonna stick to the way than he is doing. But what else do you think is like? Let me put it this way: if I ask you, okay, we are gonna work a program where it's just for new people, like law enforcement. Um, we just want everybody to learn. It's free. How can we push that in your department? If you have any ideas about that would be perfect. How can we present it to the San Bernardino PD and say, okay, we want to help you guys. We want everybody to get equipped with the right tools to
Yeah, it's really getting the people behind it, I think, and we have a few of those at our department, right? Big Aranda, he's retired now, but he's still there and he can push for that. I think it's getting everybody to just kind of take the time of doing it. When we teach our defensive tactics things, um, to get people to go in there and really be open. And honestly, even I think even if you were to come to some briefings and talk about, what you can teach, the kind of things that you do, a lot of people they get nervous. There was a couple at my work that they were asking me about trying, and it goes that same thing of like, oh, I want to try, and it's finding the time. Well, they never come see you or come down here or anything like that. Sometimes going to them is that difference
Okay.
um, of getting them. Hey, who wants to sign up, and having them sign up there or something like that. There's a lot of little things. I think our department pushing it more. It'd be cool if we could get the same incentives like Fontana. Obviously, that goes through the city and
That is
stuff like that.
amazing. That is amazing.
That's well above my decision making, but I think that getting it ease of accessibility for it, I think that's a big deal. It's always going to be harder in our job for some people because the hours that we work they're just odd, right? Like my current schedule it's 9 to 7, and I know I could come at 6 in the morning. I'm not a 6 o'clock in the morning guy, but it's hard. You know what I mean? If we get home at 12 o'clock at night, the last thing I want to do is wake up at 6 to come do this, and that's part of that personal motivation. But a lot of guys are like, oh, do I wake up and go to gym, or do I wake up and sleep a little bit longer so I'm more rested in case I have to work another 13, 14 hours, the day. I think once people start it, it's hooked. I haven't seen many people, honestly, especially in our jobs, that they start it and then they stop. Only because there's a little bit of that ego that's like, oh, I don't want to get beat up by this kid. I want to at least get to the point where I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then you end up, before you know it, a few months in, and you roll with somebody that was you 4 months ago, and you whoop their butt, and you're like, oh, I'm making progress, and you can see it. But I think, even if you were to come down and talk to different briefings, it'd be a long day, but, talk to them, tell them what you're about, and offer it. I think that's it. It's the biggest thing.
We have a guy from, I think he's a sergeant from Ontario. Did you met him, George?
No,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And he came here one day. He called me and he said, I'm a police officer, and he was telling me, and I said, hey, just come, And I asked him, hey, how much experience do you have? And he was telling me, and he got beat up, but he got beat up by another cops,
Yeah.
no us. And then he said, Coach, this guy just humbled me. He said, because I thought it was, and he got hooked. This guy kept so much, and now he's working with the Ontario PD, trying to see we can do the same that we are doing with Fontana. Why is then, if Fontana see the benefits of having this, what is the problem with another department? Where did you see? I know in Fontana, like, you remember Chief Green, him and Captain Burton, all these guys, they were purple belts. Captain Burton is a black belt, and then it's easy for them to see the benefit of it.
Yeah.
You mentioned Aranda. I want to let you know he's still coming here.
Oh yeah. No,
seriously.
he's even still the day after he retired, he was like, I'm still going to teach with the police department, so he's still around. I think to answer their question, a lot of the issues come with what people think jiu-jitsu is or what they've seen, right? Like when you talk about 20 years ago when a lot of those guys were growing up or in the middle of it, it was choking people out, snapping their legs in half, doing stuff like that. And I think that's the liability of, we have to worry about what California mandates, how we handle people. And there's certain things like if you break a bone, it's reported to the state. Not that, you no, you try not to break bones, but you do what you have to do. But I think that they see that as chokes. Chokes have been taken away completely from law enforcement. And that's what people think about. And so I think a lot of maybe agencies focus so much on liability for what we could do to somebody rather than what it could do for us. And I think it's that fine line is you have to get right. I know I could choke somebody out with no problem on the street. I know I could do that, but it's me having the willpower to tell myself when to stop or what to do and how to do it. And I think that agencies look at it. What happens when you get that guy that's too headstrong or too zoned in or too tunnel visioned,
Mhm.
and without training here and doing that, you can't see that you don't really get that tunnel visioned. That
Yeah.
it's not that type of tunnel vision. But I think that's the concern is what happens when you choke somebody and now we're sued. And unfortunately, we don't get sued for 10, 20, $30.
Yeah.
It's in the millions and, if not hundreds of millions at times. So that's what I think they worry about. But I don't think that they always see with more knowledge of how to do something actually comes more restraint on knowing when to stop.
Because I was trying to get this program going with Fontana for about 10 years.
Wow.
And I was talking with Captain Brother. He said, Coach, it's liability. We can't do it. The city is not going to support. But people start getting hurt in the street. Now people are watching UFC and they know how to throw an armbar. And then one day, about 5 years ago, he called me and he said, can you come to the station? I said, yeah. I said, I think it's time. We got to do it. They have right there in the lobby 4 guys with something going on there,
Yeah.
a broken arm and something like that. And a few days ago, I asked him, I said, do you guys still have a lot of injuries? What is the percentage? I say, Coach, we don't even have people for the lobby now. Nobody got hurt. Nobody, because you don't need to throw punches. You don't need to risk any of that. And it's so good. It's so good to see that, helping in that kind of way. And even in some situations where they gotta be calm. And the other day, one of the guys in Fontana got in a fight, and one of the cops. And I asked him because it was you probably know about the case in Yucaipa, something happens. Then they.
Oh yeah. I know.
Then I asked him, hey, when do you know? And he said, Coach, it was second nature. I don't get nervous. I don't get. And thanks to that, 2 people went home without getting hurt.
Yeah.
And if this thing can help you, remember, there's people trying to choke you out. There's people trying to get an armbar.
Yeah.
Then you got to keep it cool. You got to stay focused on what you're doing because, you can't be thinking, oh, tomorrow,
Yeah.
Then,
Yeah.
and he was telling me, he said, I want to thank you for, and I was like, dude, if I can take credit for 1% of what you did, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Because it was something really great.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's all like, I love the city I work for. I'm sure Fontana would say the same thing, but it's at the end of the day, they run it like it's a business. And eventually they see when they get officers that medically retire because they got hurt at, say a 22-year-old officer medically retires, that's a lot of years that he's still going to be around. Just say, and now how much are they paying out a year in medical retirement? Not getting any work out of somebody, or they put a smaller amount forward now, right? I don't know how much, say, a medical officer, I don't know what the contract or anything like that, but, say an officer makes $70,000 a year, you could train a lot of officers for $70,000 a year, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And
imagine that.
and I think that sometimes, unfortunately, it takes the city, and I'm not saying that's what happened or the case, but sometimes it takes a city to look at it that way, and it's like, well, what's a smart business move here, right? Because say you get 15 officers that medically retire. It's not a crazy number. It's not something crazy to think about. It probably seems pretty normal to a lot of people. When you think about how much maybe a little bit of training would have done, now those 15 officers turns into, you pay 2 officer salaries up front to train a whole department. And it kind of goes a long way. And the city sees that of like, oh, you mean we could invest this now and keep these guys working? At the end of the day, that's what I want to do. I want to stay working. I want to do that stuff. And the city wants me to do that too. If I'm and that's why you say the front desk sitting there, you're paying me to do a job of a police officer, but right now I'm hurt and I'm filing paperwork or walking things, between offices. That's not what, nobody wants that. The officer doesn't want it. The department doesn't want it. And the city doesn't want it because I'm paying it. I'm the most highest paid walking around the office guy there is. And nobody wants that. So it's kind of, you have to find that fine line between what's the city willing to do, and sometimes it takes an incident where maybe they get a video of their officer being choked, and another officer has to come up and handle it however they need to handle it, right? In this situation we were just
Mm-hmm.
talking about, not to say that no officers did anything wrong, everybody did everything that they could, but what happens if now instead of one officer being choked and now another officer has to make a decision to do this or not to do
Mm-hmm.
this, and you train to get out of those situations, train to do all those things. Now one guy doesn't have to deal with whatever he just did. The other guy doesn't have to worry about, hey, I just put my partner in that situation. Everything can always happen. There's always and that's also to say is like training is not going to be the be all answer, right? I've
Yeah.
been choked out plenty of times here.
Yeah.
It's helped minimize that situation.
Do you deal with a lot of cases like that, like with the policeman is?
Yeah, there's a
Uh-huh.
lot of like resisting arrests or like resisting causing injury to officers. And it's really clear. I watch a lot of body worn on those kinds of cases, right? Because you want to see from different angles what's going on, what happened, how it happened. And it's very clear from the cameras, even an officer that is trained in some sort of a martial art, they approach a situation very differently than your, I guess sometimes it's even like just the newer officers that are just ready to go like fight.
But now you see that because you know jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
You know there's a what about somebody doing your job
Mm-hmm.
and watching those videos?
Yeah.
And
So, and it's interesting because based off of my experience, I can explain it better to a jury, right? Like your regular
exactly.
12 people that have never seen, heard, looked at jujitsu.
Mm.
You can ask questions of an officer that has some training. Why did you approach it this way? Why not do this? Right. And I've had situations where it's like sheriff's department and SBPD. Sheriff's only has bout recordings at the time. Now they have video, but SBPD had video cameras the whole time, and explaining the difference to a jury of why someone might approach it this way versus that way and what the consideration is that's going through the officer's head at the time that they're doing whatever they're doing. But you can definitely see very clearly a different approach from an officer that has like martial arts training, be it judo, jujitsu, whatever it is, versus an officer that has gone to the academy and then hit the streets. It's different. The confidence, the thinking through. I always think of jujitsu as kind of like human chess, right? Like you're in a particular move, but your brain is thinking, how are they going to get out of this and what can I do next?
Yeah.
A lot of times when it's a newer officer and I'm watching body worn, they're very much in the moment.
Yeah.
They're punching me, I have to punch them back. Whereas someone that has some training will look at it a little bit differently, and their response to that situation, I can tell, is different.
Now, this is so crazy because because he should do this, he should do that,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. It's another logic right there that never put a foot in the mat
Mhm.
and is watching the same video that you're watching. That is crazy to think that the girl probably say, "Oh, guy, oh hell no,
Mhm.
he should do this and that," or because they have no idea. Um, it's interesting that you can see the case in such a different way than another person with no experience in martial arts
Mhm.
is gonna say, "No, he's guilty." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, seriously, think about
Yeah.
that. You are actually. You should take all the cases with the police. You should be the one because you know that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Having a lawyer that have no idea what jujitsu really is, dealing with a case where somebody is fighting could be bad for the cop.
It can, yeah,
Right.
it can.
Yeah, and that goes back to kind of what we were mentioning earlier is, you get people out of city that see that and they're like, "Oh, I don't know if I want that." Or you see, oh, they're doing this jujitsu move or something like that, and it doesn't look like anything's happening, but all to us, we know exactly what's happening.
Mhm.
It's these small little movements that you can't see or they can't do. You know exactly what you're doing. You can see where they're fighting for an underhook or a this or a that,
Mhm.
and all somebody else sees is like, "Oh, they're just laying on the person. They're just doing this." They don't see what actually is going on because it is so close.
Mhm.
We we uh we train the SWAT too a little bit. We train every first Thursday of the month. We train the SWAT, and I grew up watching movies with the SWAT, and to me, these guys are like superheroes.
Mhm.
They still are. Don't,
Yeah.
don't take me wrong. That they are. Their job is really tough, but having those guys here and helping them a little bit in something, then you know, it can save their life too, because these guys are all these buff guys
Yeah.
and big dudes, and then they come and they roll with little Danny, and Danny just rub them around, and they're
Mhm.
like, what the hell is happening here? And by the end of the class, they see the benefit in one day. You know, it's crazy to think then if you never get exposed to this, you don't know how good this thing is for you.
Mhm.
And that's what I want everybody. I want every cop to come at least once and see what happened when some 145-pound guy get on top of you, and now what?
Yeah.
You can't even freaking get this kid, and he can be slapping you around, and
And there's nothing
Yeah.
you
there's
can
nothing
do.
you can do.
And it's not all about strength too. A lot of guys, you know, we have like a lot of really cool SWAT dudes at our station too, and you know, a lot of the times they'll handle a situation and they'll tear a dude up, and they'll end up with a broken hand out of it
Mhm.
because I mean everybody knows it's punch somebody. Like it's not you're not going to last that long punching it, and that's I think a lot of issues too. Is a lot of these guys that have worked out that they get pretty strong, they can do a lot of things, and then they one really hard hit and it takes the dude out, but it also takes them out for 6 to 8
Mhm.
weeks now. And I think a lot of guys have gone through that, or hey, now they always have a issue with their hand or something like that. So that's where they would kind of start to turn and result to a lot of things. Is yeah, you can punch somebody back, but if you're doing it right, and you know you're hitting in weird situations or hitting things, if you hit them wrong, you could mess up your hand too. And now you know, again, we all want to work. We want to keep doing our job.
Yeah.
And that's another thing to think about too. Is it minimizes injury to you because you're not only relying on your muscle or the one thing you know how to do. Or what happens when you punch somebody and they eat it, and you're just like, oh no, now what do I do? Right? Like
I thought I
that's
punch harder than
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with all the drugs that are out there, you can punch somebody super hard. You could
Mhm.
break somebody's arm and they might not feel it, depending on what type
Yeah.
of drug they're on. And what are you going to do? Just keep doing it? You know, at our agency, we always talk about like fast and violent. Instead of hitting somebody 10 times, hit them one time really, really, really strong and end whatever it's going to be. What would you rather see on a video?
Yeah.
One hit and they're taken out, or 13, 14 hits?
Mhm.
And, you know, nobody wants to see a cop there in a boxing match with a person.
You know, I that's another thing. I hope I never see a cop in a fight. You know, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because I probably get involved. I always tell people there is no way that a cop is gonna get beat up if I'm there,
Yeah.
because I think there is a reason why you get you are in that situation.
Mhm.
You know, and we can, and that's the main thing. That's why I like to talk to you guys, is because I want the people know that you guys are so human,
Mhm.
that you guys are so like you are a person that is a cop. You know that people need to see that it's not a any other way around. Is you choose the job to do the job, and somebody has to do it, and that is the thing. If you don't do it, somebody's gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I want people to know that, dude, I love you guys. Seriously, there is no the reason why I do this is because I love to help the law enforcement. Period. And if I have the opportunity, why not? If I had the ability to do it, why not?
Yeah.
Um, I know people are gonna say, "Yeah, freaking cops," but and like I say, there is cops. Then that's why the department have a bad reputation. One guy can do something, then it's gonna hurt the whole department.
Mhm.
But we can't just be like that, you know. I want people to get around you guys, to come and hang out with you guys, and train with you guys, and see
Yeah.
that then is different, you know. That uniform that you guys wear is the problem. I think sometimes everybody get like a little bit like, oh wait a minute,
Yeah.
you know. And I tell people that it's biblical, you know, that the law is for the bad people, not for
Mhm.
the good people. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid of the law if you're not doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, if I am driving the speed limit, I see a cop, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I'm going 20 miles over the speed limit, I
Yeah.
start sweating, even when the temperature is 10 degrees.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
it is. We know that, but sometimes, you know, people.
It's hard. That was a
Yeah.
big one for me when I started is right. Like I always my interactions with police officers before I became a prosecutor was you're getting a ticket or, they're right behind you and their lights are starting to turn on or something.
Yeah.
And it was really like anxiety driven.
Mm-hmm.
And then I became a prosecutor and I started dealing with them like at work.
Mm-hmm.
And at first it was really intimidating because they come in their uniform and they're going to testify in court. And you're like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. But getting to know like all the officers and deputies and all the people that I've gotten to meet over the course of being a prosecutor for as long as I have now, you realize that they're people first. And it was a really big one for me was to figure out that they're people first, right? Like if they're excited about something or they have doctor's appointments or their kids have birthdays or they're going on vacations. And you get to start to talk to them on a personal level. It's not just, I'm sorry, officer, I didn't mean to, or I wasn't speeding, I swear, right? You get to talk to them and really learn about them. And I think to me, that was a really big thing because it immediately humanized them is when I got to actually sit down and, I had a case that we were going to ask, we're going to do a prelim or a trial or something. And the first question was, I've never testified before. Like, how does it work? I was like, what? You're asking me for help? Like, that's not how this works. You're supposed to know everything. You're a police officer. And so being able to it was crazy for me to sit down. And I remember my first like preliminary hearing, I was nervous because I had no idea what I was doing. It was my second day on the job. I just showed up and they're like, here's a prelim, go do it. And I was like, what is a prelim? How does it work? I had no idea.
Oh,
and so, I'd asked one of my coworkers, for like a script, like what questions do I ask? How does it work? Like what goes on in a prelim? I'd never done one. And I had an officer that had been an officer for 17 years, but it was his first prelim. So he came into court and he was like, hey, it's my first prelim. I don't know what I'm doing. I remember my jaw fell to the floor because I was like, you were supposed to know. I don't know.
Too.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be honest. It's my first time too. We'll figure this out. Like worst thing that happens, it doesn't get held. We'll deal with it. And so I remember I put him up on the stand and I started asking him questions. And it was both of us were learning from each other in the moment, like how we were going to respond to things. If the answer didn't come out the way I was expecting it, I'd ask a follow-up question. And then by the time we got to the end of it, we finished, the prelim was held, it was fine. And then he was like, hey, can we talk before I leave? And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. Like, we'll go to the side room and we'll talk about it. And he's like, so how did I do? I was like, oh, I have no idea. It got held. I don't know what it's supposed to look like.
My question is, how did
I was like, so how did I do? Like, we're good? And that was my big moment where I was like, oh, like they're just like you and me. It's just they have a uniform and they do a different job. And sometimes you associate that with something that's scary or negative, but they're regular.
Yeah. It's the last few years I was on a special detail and I had same partner for quite a while, Officer Dominguez. We worked together for 3 years, 2.5 years every single day. And like you said, they're getting behind me and they're all nervous. Man, we would have so much fun. We would, connect our phones to the car and we'd be driving around singing silly songs, like having a good time. Being like seriously like teenagers. Some of the stuff we would say and joke about and come up with, man, we would be literally. I remember one time we were driving around and my buddy was saying a joke, as the area that we were in. We were talking about something. I was laughing so hard that I was like, I literally spit up and this is just in the car all over me in uniform because we had such a good time. And, a really good movie. It's sad at the end, but end of watch if you've never seen it. It's
I don't watch it.
The end sucks, right? But the camaraderie that the two dudes have during the movie when they're joking around, having a good time, it's true. You always think like, oh, you're a cop, you're this and that. Some of the stuff we don't know how to do or say or the jokes that we say, you would never believe, or just the fun times we have. Me and my buddy, my first partner, we'd always go find this donkey in the city and feed him an apple. Right? Like,
believe it.
Like,
really?
Yeah, Dirty Diana is what we call her. But we'd always go over there and he'd always want to feed an apple. And that just silly stuff like that, right? Like just
this is what I want people to know about you guys. Seriously. Because I never hear that.
Yeah.
I never hear that. Like
it's fun. Everybody sees you get out of the car, but it really is that we're so good at at flipping that switch. And it's not like, usually it's not a little bit of a flip. It's like a total 180, you know, and you've never seen me at work, but it's always surprising for everybody.
Really?
I know, like if
Yeah.
she's seen me at work or my mom that I work with and they see me at work, it's, you wouldn't even think it's the same person. You know,
Really?
I get her friends at work that we've all met. They're like, oh, I don't, you know, they see me outside of work at work and they're like, this is how you were on a case. And it's just different because all the way up to that door opens and you start doing whatever you got to do. We're our normal person, you know, our normal selves, our normal this. And then we just put on that, not a show, but we present
Yeah,
ourselves how we need to be
you
presented.
have to, you
Yeah.
know?
I remember I had
Yeah.
a really rough
That
day
is
at
so
work.
crazy.
I had a really rough day at work once. I can't remember what it was. Just a bad day. And out of blue, he sent me a picture of like some random pig that's named Hershey,
Yeah.
and his like partner's holding Hershey. Hershey's screaming,
It's the
mind you,
same.
like, screaming.
There's a little pig, me and the same partner. We had a really
Really?
good time together. Not the one that fed the donkey, the one that we'd sing all the time. But yeah, we'd go to the park. We did a lot of homeless outreach and we went to the park and you talk to them, you know, they're
No.
people just like you, just in
Yeah.
different situations. Sometimes it's like talking to a toddler, other times it's talking to a guy that, you know,
Yeah.
or a girl that just lost their job. Well, yeah, these ones had a little pig, little like potbelly pig on a leash,
Mhm.
and she was walking him around the park. And so
No
we
way.
went up to
Yeah.
talk to her, like, oh, like, what is this?
What's
And she's like,
going
oh,
on?
it's my friend's pig. And they just lived in a little tent at the park. So we were like petting it, saying like hi to the pig. And then I got out of the leash and we had to chase it around the park.
Mhm.
So literally we're running around, chasing a pig around. And we found out that if you just throw a blanket over it, it'll stop.
Really? I didn't
So
know
you don't
that.
just throw a blanket over it and it just like freezes. And so we're running around tossing a blanket, two cops in the middle of a park, at the middle of work, running around tossing a blanket trying to toss a blanket on top of a pig to get it caught again so we could give it back to this lady that had it. It's a lot of fun.
You know, that's what. If you don't hear this kind of thing, you will
Mhm.
never know because you think once these guys get in that car, they're
No,
cops,
they're
you
Yeah.
know, and it's good. It's good to hear that, and I just enjoy having you guys and helping you guys if I can with anything. Sam, anything that you got to say before we hang out?
no. I mean, it's just a really great gym. It's like a family.
Yeah.
And especially because I moved here later, like I've only been in the IE for what, 4 years now.
Yeah.
It's just a really nice spot where you always feel comfortable. You feel at home. Like it's always the highlight of my day. Is like at the end of the day when I'm like, oh, I just want to be done. I always look at the time and I'm like, I can make it to the gym. If I leave right now, I can make it, and
That's
then I'll
good.
book it over here. And it's always fun. I've never had a bad day at the gym.
You know, it's good to hear that because you guys know how we joke around
Mhm.
about everything here.
Yeah.
You know, we nobody. You know, they make fun about Costa Ricans about this and that. Then everybody is friendly. Everybody is, and something that Jim Burke to say the other day was that he say, "I know then coach is not gonna allow people to be
Mhm.
stupid," and it's true because I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable. Like you say, I feel good when
Yeah.
I that's how I want everybody to feel when they walk
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah.
What about you, Sean? Tell everybody because there's a lot of people gonna watch this.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, I love coming here and I remember, you know, in the beginning, when we first started, right, I was always nervous of who I was gonna roll with
Mhm.
and what type of person. And there was at the time specific people I really didn't want to
Yeah.
roll with, right, because of who they were, who I was.
Mhm.
And it's cool to see it over time that you've been able to kind of mold certain people into something where it's, you know, we always talk about how impressive that person is and how much they've changed and grown up. And, you know, you hear these stories or hear all these little things, and it's cool to see that, you know, somebody where, you know, I can say I was wrong about it at first.
Mhm.
And it's cool to see how people can change here. That you don't take no crap from nobody. And, you know, it's just come here, have a good time, leave whoever you are at the door.
Yeah.
Everybody's here together, and you know, you don't bring that in the gym, and it's cool. It's a fun time. There's a lot of people that I never thought I'd roll around with or talk or say, hey, what's up, brother,
is a
too,
good
or
thing.
anything like
Yeah.
that. And it's cool to see.
Do you know that now that you mentioned that there's one of the kids here then when Sam came here, um I know she didn't like him, and she told him, we are not gonna be friends. and and at the end of the class, he came and said, "Hey, the girl, the girl Sam said that we cannot be friends. I understand, but she came like she really don't like me." I said, "No, dude, hey, it's your fault, you know." And he said, "No, I know, but we are gonna be friends." And
We are.
then yeah, no, seriously. And then time goes by, and one day he said, she was joking around with me today. Like she said, we are not friends. I don't know what word did you use,
Acquaintances.
acquaintance. And then he say, we are progressing.
No, it is cool. You know, it's
Seriously, and
yeah,
few months back or a year back, he said, she told me that we are friends.
yeah,
He said, it's good.
yeah,
And it's interesting because we are talking about the two sides of the law
Mhm,
in the same place,
mhm.
doing what you guys love to do. And now, you learn that he's not as bad as I thought.
yeah,
He got better.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
But what made these kids get better? Being around
Yeah.
positive people, seriously,
Mhm.
yeah,
It was
because
definitely the environment.
it's something that I thank all of you guys for that, because it's easy for you to say, I don't want to touch this guy, I don't want to roll with this guy, I don't want to, and you guys embrace everything positive that is happening in the gym, because yeah, I never thought I was gonna be involved with kids like that. I was talking with the guys the other day, when this kid go and fight, you have 150 cholos right there
yeah,
watching him, and in front of them is another 30, 40, 50 cops, then go to see him.
Mhm.
And I told them, I feel so safe in this place.
yeah,
Like
Nothing's gonna
seriously.
happen.
And these kids came around, and seriously, and they came and give me a big hug, and I am like, there is no way I can be in this relationship with these guys outside of what we do.
Mhm.
yeah,
This is so good, then we can leave everything at that door and just walk in here and just have fun with everybody.
yeah. No, for sure. It's awesome to see.
I really appreciate you guys. I'm glad you guys have the time to do it.
No,
And
of course.
we gotta do it again. Something that I talked to some of the guys. I want to do a podcast with one cop from San Bernardino, one from Riverside. I have one from Ontario. I have one from Rancho Cucamonga, and get guys from Fontana and
Yeah,
Rialto to, because that's another thing. I don't know if the departments have problem with each other, or if they don't have a good relationship. But dude, I have people from 4 different departments rolling right here,
yeah,
and it's so cool because
Yeah.
they become friends.
yeah. No, it is.
Yeah, and then if we have a chance, maybe we can sit again and we
Of
can
course. Yeah,
enjoy this. And Sam, thank you.
Of course.
I really appreciate you for being here, and you too, Sean. Thank
yep.
you very much, and
Of course.
uh, see you later.